Olivier Pernod for Orchus Racing, running in third position ahead of Nelson in the La Douce Arbe car. Then Fabien Delaplace, Laurent Millara and Andrew Ferguson in the 24/7 Motorsport car. A real mix-up actually of JSP4s and JS2Rs. Far from it being the block of prototypes at the front and then the GT-derived cars at the back. Actually, Natabiel's going to try and take the overall lead here at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Into the right, left, right they go at Les Combes corner. One going very wide onto the blue paint there is the CTF Performance number 95, orange and black. Started this time by Fabien Delaplace, because pretty much all the way down the field in those two driver cars, it's the opposing driver taking the race start. So whereas we had Jacopo Faccioni start race 1, this time Alessandro Ceccagnani in the HP Racing by Monza garage car leading the race. Nathan Biel doesn't have the option to switch to a co-driver because he's there on his own. And then you've got Nelson also doing the full hour plus the lap. It's been a tricky run into this race for everybody involved. I don't actually know how long they've been sitting in the assembly area for, but a long wait, wondering when on earth their race might take place. It was due to take place just after 2 o'clock from memory on the original schedule, so we're virtually an hour behind with the start under investigation, but we shouldn't necessarily be alerted by a big problem there. Normally the start does get investigated purely as a belt and braces attitude. There was a bit of a lock-up that time into Campos corner for Alessandro Ceccagnani, but he didn't run off the road, thankfully. Also, yellow flags being held now on the exit of Pouhon, the second element of that, the left-hander, which might have involved Andrew Ferguson, who is yet to appear at the end of the second sector, and does so now. So Ferguson possibly running a little bit out wide there to rejoin the race. HP Racing by Monza Garage out front, and they won the earlier race today as well, so looking to complete a perfect weekend actually, with the double pole position set yesterday and first race being won by the number 23 car. A reminder that if you weren't around for the live stream of the first event, it was a win for Jacopo Faccioni and Alessandro Ceccagnani from Nelson in the 34 car, and then Jacques Nicolet and Pierre Fillon made the podium in the second of the La Douce Arbe cars. In JSP4, rather JS2R, Nathan Biel in the 53M Racing car took the race win from Cedric Ultramer, and then the two Fergusons, Jeremy and Andrew, in car number 27. Over the top, Aradion. This is the area of the track that has received lots of repair work over the last half an hour or so, after first an accident for David Hauser in LMP3, and then a huge crash for Nicolas Jamin in the number 32 United Autosports car. And the marshals here, the track staff, doing an incredibly good job to repair the track in time for this second race of the day. Now, an early start for CTF Performance. This is well outside the pit stop window. The cars in this series pitting in the endurance pits on the downhill stretch between La Source and Eau Rouge, with Cedric Ultramer going straight on a moment or two ago at Les Combes corner as well. It's the second of the GT-derived cars to have done that, after the 95 car did the same. Now, is Fabien Delaplace reporting a puncture, or at the very least a vibration? I think it's the latter actually, because the team are being asked to check the front right wheel and tyre, now checking for movement on the front left as well, just to try and answer Fabien Delaplace's queries about why the car isn't quite driving as it did in the first race, I guess. So, wanting to come in for some investigation work. Is there a slow puncture? There's something trapped maybe between the tyre and the brake disc, but that's the last thing you want, is the car not feeling right, with the potential of something breaking or snapping when you're at high speed, perhaps at the end of the Kemmel or heading through Blanchimont. So doing the wise thing. And now maybe a clue, because there is a message on the bottom of my screen suggesting that the contact between car 95 and 69 at turn 13 is now being investigated. Now I knew about some brief yellow flags that were held at turn 11, but not necessarily at turn 13. So car 95, and I think it was car 69 involved. Yes, it is car 69 involved in that incident at turn 13, which is the exit of Le Fagnes corner. So far, Laurent Millara doesn't feel the need to stop. But maybe if it's side-by-side contact, then that has sent the steering out, maybe for Fabien Delaplasse's car, and wanting the team to check that before he carries on. Had just over 5 minutes of this second race of the day, all part of Heat 5, held at Spa-Francorchamps, in what's been a very exciting and busy week for news for the Ligier European Series, because yesterday there was a 2022 calendar announced for these cars, and the excitement is that they will be going to a couple of brand new venues for this series, which is still fledgling, only into its second season. But for season 3, on the calendar will be a visit to Imola and also to Hungary, to the Hungaro Ring in Budapest. Looks like the end of the race for Fabien Delaplace. He's clambering out of the 95 car with shakes of the head down at CTF Performance. They are not happy with how the car is behaving, and presumably something that cannot be fixed now in time. So Fabien Delaplace appearing to be a retirement, which will mean that there will be no chance to get behind the wheel for Nico Belraud also in the 95 car. So real disappointment after their best result this season, a first podium of the year, straight following that up with the DNF. It's funny how motorsport has a habit of doling these things out, the highs and the lows. As heading towards La Fagna corner goes Nathan Biel in the M Racing car. So Biel already up to third position overall, and chasing down the leading JSP4s, Nelson and Alessandro Cicognani. Biel's pace is so impressive, has been all year. Doesn't seem to matter what circuit these cars go to. Biel can just find the pace and the ideal speed to be running at. In a slight change then to the calendar for next year, the Ligier European Series cars will actually follow the Tour of Europe that the Michelin Le Mans Cup will make, therefore not making the trip to Barcelona. But they will go to Hungary, they will go to Imola, and crucially, along with the Michelin Le Mans Cup cars, they will go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Obviously not to take part in the main race, but during race week there is a window of opportunity there of, I think, a total of 4 hours running, so that's including free practice, the qualifying and the races potentially. But the one bit of the announcement that hasn't been made yet is whether we'll get 1 or 2 races squeezed in. But at the very least, the big news is that they will be on the support category for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and that's a real carrot to anyone that wants to take part in this event, because they can see at very close quarters where they could potentially get to at Circuit de la Sarthe, starting off in the Ligier European Series, and maybe one day being a starting driver, being an entry in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But likewise, teams that are relatively small on budget can get involved in Le Mans very early on in their careers, potentially. Take a car, just a loan car to Le Mans, drum up some interest from drivers and sponsors, and then maybe look to get into the Le Mans Cup, ELMS, World Endurance Championship and Le Mans, and the potential then for your team to skyrocket, to mushroom in its interest, can all lead from the Ligier European Series. Nathan Biel out of Speaker's Corner, turn number 9. The nose of the car drops to the track surface as he slows and scrubs the speed off into Pouhon Corner. Just riding the brake to balance the car, and then out of the double left-hander. Plenty of curb taken there, but not too much, crucially, because then you'll incur the wrath of the stewards with track limit penalties potentially. But he kept at least one Michelin tyre the safe side of the white line coming out of Pouhon Corner. Then you've got to hustle the car from one side of the track to the other to set it up for the ideal racing line into Fagna. That's the right and the left, sometimes called Piff Paff. And then Campos Corner, named after the college on the inside of the bend. Racing Engineering College, from my knowledge there. Curve Paul Frere past the karting track, which has been in quite a bit of action already so far this morning and this afternoon. Plenty of karts rattling and hammering round there, and that's normally open quite late as well on a Saturday, so could well be running for the full duration of the Le Mans Cup a little later too. Into the bus stop chicane goes these two battling cars from very different classes. JSP4, which is being driven by, let's have a look ahead of the 24 car on the road. So that's Jacques Nicolet in the 33, pursued by Olivier Pernot, and the Pernot car really struggled in the opening stages, unfortunately, with a puncture to that car over the first lap for Pernot's teammate Mathieu Martins, and Martins had to come in and get that replaced, and that subsequently put the car a lap down, heading out of the kink onto the Kemmel Straight and down towards Le Combe corner. Goes the scrap for 4th and 5th places. That looks to be just about the closest battle out on track, with Nathan Biel slowly dropping back again after a really good start to try and take the fight to the JSP4s, and an overall victory. Of course, steadily being sports prototypes, they will come into their own and start to establish a rhythm which will be, on average, faster than Nathan Biel. And the 53 car's priority is obviously staying ahead of the other 5 JS2Rs. There were due to be 6. In fact, there have been 6 other cars on site, making a decent total of the GT-derived cars. But unfortunately, there was an incident yesterday that involved Alain Boucher during one of the qualifying sessions, and that meant that the car left the road at Blanchemont corner at high speed, and it connected with the tyre barrier backwards, doing substantial damage to the tyre wall and also to the car itself. And Alain Boucher's machine could not be repaired in time for the races today. Out of Blanchemont corner comes the race leader, Alessandro Cicognani, threading its way then through the bus stop chicane to complete another lap. And the gap this time was 7.5 seconds. Wouldn't be surprised to see it extending yet further, because that's a new fastest lap of the race for Alessandro Cicognani for HB Racing by Monza Garage. Car 23 out front by 8.5 seconds now. Side by side further back for Nathan Biel, and that is Jacques Nicolet squeezing up the inside of the GT car, the JS2R of Nathan Biel, and the place is gained. So that is a switch for 3rd position, technically speaking, but it doesn't change the class positions, with Nicolet staying 3rd and Nathan Biel as the leader in JS2R. And I think Biel knew the game was up there regarding the faster sports prototype that wanted to slot through into La Source corner. The places are reversed, and the M Racing car still in the lead of JS2R, and by a decent chunk, just over 5 seconds from Olivier Pernot for August Racing number 24. Laurent Millara in the 69M Racing car running in 3rd. Cedric Ultramer for Cool Racing is in 4th position then in the number 4 car, running 4th in class behind Egidius Gutravicius for Arctic Energy. And then the 24/7 motorsport car of Andrew Ferguson, started by Andrew this time, with Jeremy still to come, car 27. 45 minutes left on the clock, so we're already a quarter into this race, with always a tricky start around Spa-Francorchamps as tyre temperature comes into the operating window, the ideal operating area for the Michelin tyres. There's going to be no further action, by the way, regarding the contact between the CTF Performance car, which I would suggest has put that car out of the race, and the 69 machine for M Racing and Laurent Millara. Now, I didn't see the incident in question, but obviously Fabien Delaplace wasn't too happy with how the car was tracking, perhaps. If the steering's out, that's the last thing you want when you are motoring around here at high speed and not able to position the car correctly on the racetrack. So the team looked at the car, realised they wouldn't be able to do anything there and then, and unfortunately a retirement is the result. But not judged to be either driver's fault, it would seem, merely called as a racing incident. By the look of the 69 car, I mean, that's still running and able to be in third position, so it can't have been heavy contact, otherwise that would be affecting the 69 performance as well. Was there a bit of a puff of smoke out the back of Nathan Biel's car as he turned left there at the bus stop? Difficult to tell. The two La Douce Arbe cars are getting closer to one another, with Jacques Nicolet having just set the fastest time of anybody through the final sector on lap 6. So he will head across the line with definitely the gap coming down. 1.4 seconds between Nelson and Jacques Nicolet. Down the hill and up the other side over Radion go the second and third place runners then. La Douce Arbe cars, with the exciting, tantalising prospect of being able to race at the 24 Hours of Le Mans weekend from 2022, and also visits then to Hungaroring and to Imola to stretch the wings of this championship. Up the inside goes Jacques Nicolet from a long way back, coming out of Le Combe corner, and rather caught Nelson napping there. So they might be teammates, these two, but obviously the instruction hasn't been set that they can't race each other. And also, you know, with full elbows out, because Jacques Nicolet spotted the opportunity there. The door was left open by Nelson. He got the better run coming out of the second element of Le Combe corner, and right up the inside, put the car in the perfect position so that Nelson couldn't all of a sudden adjust his race line, and through he goes. So a neat and tidy overtake, forceful, but I don't think there is any reason not to go for that one. And contact well and truly avoided as well, so all involved with La Douce Arbe can hold their breath again, as 42 minutes and 40 seconds remain on the clock, and Alessandro Cicognani, although he was under pressure from Nelson in the closing stages of race 1 of Heat 5, doesn't look like it's going to be the same scenario this time around. 12 seconds to the good now over Jacques Nicolet in second position. Nelson running in third in the 34 car, and then the JS2R field, Nathan Biel, Olivier Pernot, Laurent Millara and Cédric Oltremer. So through the left-hander goes the 53 car, which is the green, white and blue of M Racing. And Olivier Pernot, 6.5 seconds away. So Pernot in the red and white car, at least this time on the lead lap, and can take the fight to Nathan Biel if that fight comes their way. The thing they stand to gain is a bit of time during the pit stop, because it's a 6-minute pit stop window right in the middle of the race, between 27 minutes and 33 minutes into the race. Bronze-rated driver Olivier Pernot is not very far away from Nathan Biel at this stage, and remember, he will be handing over to Mathieu Martins, who is silver-rated, just 19 years old, born in 2002, for goodness sake, but started racing last year with M Racing and now has moved to Aarhus Racing, where he occupies second in the championship with teammate Olivier Pernot, and the gap is, well, just less than 30 points. It is, let's just work this out correctly, 27 points, the trailing margin for Aarhus Racing. Down the Camel Straight go Laurent Millara and Cédric Oltremer. Oltremer doing the chasing though, and the 69 car getting slowly larger and larger through the windshield for the Spanish driver Cédric Oltremer. Le Combe corner is where he is at around the circuit. Egidius Gutierrez for Arctic Energy, with their ever-changing driving lineup. Well, I think we've had every driver that they've got to offer now, but in lots of different combinations, the 17 crew. And Egidius Gutierrez, it was announced in the middle of the week that he will be driving on his own this weekend. Well, earlier on today, Arctic Energy managed to finish 9th overall, and that put them in the JS2R's 5th place. ahead of a recovering Olivier Pernot, who actually ended up 2 laps down from everyone else after at least one pit stop to repair that puncture, and they never really recovered. That was again after an opening lap skirmish with another car, which quickly deflated one of the front tyres. Over the line goes HP Racing by Monza Garage's Alessandro Cicognani once more. Cicognani turning right through the tricky La Source corner, taking lots of curb but not too much, crucially, and it's keeping that gap very healthy indeed after 8 laps at 11.7 seconds, with Nelson 2.7 seconds away. Then Nathan Biel 7 and a bit seconds further adrift in the M Racing JS2R, leading its class. And Nathan Biel is a returnee to the championship, having finished second in the series last year with a best result of 3rd, which he managed to score at the Algarve International Circuit in Portugal during the penultimate race. So in the championship, Nathan Biel last year finished second to Sebastian Beau, who does not return for season 2021. That's rather left the door open, I suppose, for Nathan Biel. Mathieu Martin's, not surprised to see him well up the championship chart in 2020. On 131 points he ended. And that's the exciting thing now, is that we've got half an hour of Mathieu Martin to look forward to in, let's hope, a squeaky clean car without any damage on it. They will have managed to repair any slight suspension damage that was perhaps done during the contact. Cedric Ultramer from a long way back sticks the nose up the inside there of the 69 car of Laurent Millara. No way through, at least initially. Millara, though, on the back foot, heading through the second part of Les Combes corner, and now down the hill towards Bruxelles. And it's Millara versus Ultramer. And Ultramer with a tighter run into Bruxelles corner. Interesting that, because Millara was wider on the entrance, but that meant that he could tuck in on the exit. And, well, it's possibly even Stevens with 2 very different lines into Bruxelles, both resulting in about the same sort of speed, heading through Rivage corner, as it was formerly known, and then into the left-hander at Speakers. They're at Pouhon, halfway round the lap, with Blanchimont still to come, and then the very difficult braking area into the bus stop chicane, which you're having to do uphill and while still turning a little bit as well. Certainly turning when you get to the chicane itself, but most of the speed should have been scrubbed off by that point. But the approach to the bus stop is certainly not straight as a die. Not much of this Spa circuit is. Bit of gravel there, churned up behind the number 4 car. There was nobody for it to be churned into the face of, though, because Cedric Ultramer is the second of this duo of cars, which involves Laurent Millara. But Cedric Ultramer is, I think, marginally quicker than Laurent Millara, and decides to take the higher line at Blanchimont, which only takes him to the red and yellow curbing on the exit of that rapid left-hander. And he did well to mop that moment up. Needed to just lose a little bit of speed. I know what he was trying to do, find the inside line into the braking area for the bus stop chicane, but Millara was wise to that. Been around the block a little bit too much as Laurent Millara in car 69, a car that he has shared previously with Nathan Biel's dad, Erwin. As now at the inside goes Cedric Ultramer, and this is the better opportunity for the overtake at La Source, and gets it into the first corner. But Laurent Millara is not going to take that lying down. Now the white and blue car with the orange detailing almost level as they head towards Eau Rouge. Surely they can't go through there 2 abreast, and Millara realises that that's too much of a risk to take this early on in an hour-long race, so just ducks back into line behind Cedric Ultramer for Cool Racing. So Swiss squad with Spanish driver, and Ultramer and Millara looking to try and take a bit of time out of Olivier Pernot, who is running in second place as Millara jinks to the inside again. A little bit of a think about a move at the end of the Camel Straight, but decides better of it. We're only 2 minutes away from the pit lane, or the pit window opening, and it will be open for only 6 minutes. It takes 2.5 minutes to get around here, 2 minutes 32 or 3, and that's on a very quick lap. So you're going to have 2 chances to pit, probably as soon as the pit window opens. and that's pretty much it. You can't expect to go past a third time having not pitted and still have the opportunity to do so. Down towards Pouhon corner goes the chasing Laurent Millara, having been overtaken by Cédric Outremer, who looks a little wide this time through Pouhon corner, stressing those Michelin tyres out early on in the race. Ideally, the teams don't want to be changing tyres because it takes a long time to loosen 5 wheel nuts, take the wheel off, and then use the electric tyre guns, wheel guns rather, to tighten 5 lug nuts as well. It's a real NASCAR style pit stop, and it is not the work of a moment, certainly. 34 minutes still to go, so in another 60 seconds from now the pit lane will be open for the first stops to be made. CTF Performance's car already parked up in pit lane, remember, in the endurance pits and out of the race. A real shame for Fabien Delaplace, wanting to back up his earlier podium and a first of the year. Into Le Combe corner goes the race leader Alessandro Cicognani. Now, I'm not sure whether there was something genuinely wrong with the car in the second stint, but I'd like to be able to combine and compare the lap times from the 30-year-old Italian in this stint, the first of race 2, with his earlier stint, which was stint 2 of race 1, because they've obviously switched around to give each of the Italian drivers a race start each and likewise a race finish each. So Cicognani starting the car and seems to be a lot faster than his average time during the stint earlier on today. Now, it might be that, you know, the tyres are newer for the first stint. Everything's just a bit newer, isn't it, for the first half an hour, whereas later on in the race the car starts to get a bit tired, and if you've built it correctly, any racing car will cross the line and immediately fall apart. All the body panels should fall off it if you've built it brilliantly well, because it has been lifed for the perfect race distance. That, therefore, they say that about 10 lap races as well. It's supposed to run out of fuel pretty much the next corner after the checkered flag has waved. Of course, it can't do that because the scrutineers will be rather unhappy, but you get the sentiment in that a racing car, everything is built so that the components last the race distance and no more. So we have had 27 minutes on the clock. Just beyond that now, 28 minutes approaching. So there was the option, or is the option, for Alessandro Cicognani to come into the pits now. He won't have done so at the bus stop because we're not using that pit lane entry, something for all the drivers to remember, having no doubt watched a good bit of ELMS qualifying and perhaps the Michelin Le Mans Cup qualifying as well. Cicognani is not going to pit though on the exit of La Source, happy to stay out for at least one more lap, and there is sufficient time on the clock to do that. 4.5 minutes left in the pit window, as reaching Eau Rouge, Jacques Nicolet will be in a moment anyway. Cicognani is safely over the top of Raidillon and now heading up the Kemmel Straight. So Cicognani from Jacques Nicolet and then Nelson, they are in the 2 Les Deux Sabres cars. M Racing's Nathan Biel running as the JS2R leader, with Olivier Piarnaud and Cédric Outremer for Aarhus Racing and Cool Racing. The sister Aarhus car no longer a going concern, unfortunately, after that was badly damaged in a session yesterday. 2 pit callers, including the Nelson 34 car from Les Deux Sabres. The sister machine has not pitted though, so Jacques Nicolet staying out, and is that in an effort to make sure that things are done as swiftly and as conveniently as possible at Les Deux Sabres, rather than getting both cars tangled up with one another, pit them a lap apart, and that should be beneficial for both parties. So one is in, the other one's staying out on the racetrack. Cool Racing's Cédric Outremer happy to stay out as well, and should become the JS2R leader as a result, because the 2 cars ahead, including this one for M Racing, 53, Nathan Biel, is in, as is the sister car for Laurent Millara, number 69, and the Aarhus Racing car of Olivier Piarnaud, which he shares with Mathieu Martin. Now, Piarnaud being a bronze, Martin being the silver, that means that they can spend less time in the pits. Their pit stop reference time is shorter than the two that are driving for, or rather Nathan Biel, who's driving for M Racing as a solo silver driver. And the clock will be running longer for Nathan Biel. And this is the opportunity then for M Racing, or rather for Aarhus Racing, to take the race lead for the first time. And that will be after Cedric Ultramare has made his stop. Ultramare is somewhere in the middle sector currently. When he completes this lap, which will take about 2 minutes and 40 seconds, he'll come down pit road for his, well, what he's hoping for will be his one and only stop, Cedric Ultramare and Cool Racing. He'll give up the lead as he does so, and that, I think, will give the lead to, for the first time, Olivier Pernot, just to make sure that Aarhus Racing, just as long as Aarhus Racing completes their pit stop as swiftly as M Racing do, but with more time to be soaked up by M Racing. And the evidence of that is that Aarhus Racing are already on the move. Mathieu Martin's reaching the end of the pit lane. He will thread his way through the pit lane exit road, which runs alongside the racetrack up over Raidillon, and rejoins right at the point where we've had the two cars crashing in qualifying today, one in the Michelin Le Mans Cup and one in ELMS. 33 car up on the internal jacks, driver stepping out, and that is Jacques Nicolet to hand over to Pierre Fillon. These two, remember, finished on the podium a little earlier on, and Pierre Fillon, the president of the ACO, enjoying his time behind the wheel of this Ligier JSP4, about to get back into the race. So a third place finish for the Nicolet-Fillon combination earlier this morning actually, and just into this afternoon. So it's been a fairly long day and a long weekend for these Ligier European Series runners, with a couple of free practice, or one free practice session, then into qualifying, and then 2 hour-long races. For the main part shared, but if you are Nelson or Nathan Biel or Laurent Millara or Gidius Gutierrez, then you will have been at the wheel of the car for 2 solid hours plus the lap, because those are the drivers that are not sharing this weekend. Just under 30 seconds of the pit lane window that is about to be closed, and I think everybody that needed to pit has now done so. Yes, so those 3 cars that are still in the pit lane waiting for the clock to tumble down to 0, and Nelson is heading along the start-finish straight. Now, if Jacques Nicolet and Alessandro Cicognani sit there for much longer, they are going to be overtaken by the 34 car for Les Deux Arbres. They're on the move now, and Cicognani, whose car has been taken over by Jacopo Faccioni, is about to head up the hill. Pierre Fillon in tow, and now out of La Source corner and heading down the hill at full race pace is the 34 car for Nelson. Careful not to cross the blend line on the exit. Nelson, I think, will be able to pick off at least one of these cars, because he's got the much greater speed onto the Kemmel Straight. So Nelson is closing on Pierre Fillon at a very high rate of knots. Where will Pierre put his car? Maybe in the middle of the racetrack from a long way back. Here comes Nelson at the Com corner, and will get the place just as long as he can get the 34 car stopped. But 33 of Pierre Fillon around the outside to retake the position. So Pierre Fillon wasn't going to take that line down. He'd spotted where the Les Deux Arbres car was rejoining, or where he was rejoining in front of the Nelson car, and Nelson chasing it down, briefly getting ahead of Fillon, but now having to concede that second place, albeit briefly, because Nelson is all over the back of Pierre Fillon's 33 car now, almost glued to the rear bumper as they head out of Speaker's Corner and towards Pouhon. And this is the opportunity once more for Nelson to take the place away from Pierre Fillon into Pouhon Corner, and Fillon slightly more tentative through the double left and gives up that spot with Nelson. There was a bit of a jink there from the 34 car approaching La Fagna corner, but he kept held of an initial moment and has dealt with that nicely. Down towards Campos corner goes the Les Deux Arbres into Nicene battle then, and there was a big squirm and a slide from Pierre Fillon in the 33 car there for Les Deux Arbres, which he had to just get out of the throttle to address. and that's rather ruined the scrap between he and Nelson. I think that should give Nelson a decent advantage now of nearly a second and a half. It might extend to 2 seconds now for Nelson versus Pierre Fillon. Mathieu Martins in the 24 car is ahead of Nathan Biel. Well, that was to be expected because the 24 car can take a shorter pit stop at half distance than the car behind. But now Nathan Biel needs to find a way through, and safely. He's already scored maximum points this weekend. 2 pole positions yesterday, a race win earlier on today. Looking to back that up with another 25 points to put him in an incredibly strong position from a championship perspective, heading into Blanchimont corner now. And the run up towards the bus stop chicane. Still Nathan Biel in the wheel tracks of the JS2R leader Mathieu Martin. Plenty of curb taken by the silver rated driver for Aarhus Racing, with silver rated Nathan Biel shadowing the BMA sponsored car, and then a couple of car lengths further back, Cedric Ultramare heading along the start finish straight and into La Source corner to start another lap. So heading down towards Eau Rouge corner once more. The very tricky sequence where the cars bottom out, and if you're in a prototype, it's certainly not unusual for the barge board underneath the car, that plank of wood, to get a scraping as they head towards the end of the Kemmel Straight again. Nathan Biel's nose dives to the asphalt. Mathieu Martin's likewise, and Martin now needing to work out where Nathan Biel is slightly quicker, because these drivers are very equally talented, I would say, and I'm not sure Nathan Biel ordinarily will have the control or will have the speed necessarily of the Mathieu Martin's car. Certainly the control, but not necessarily the lap speed in order to get ahead, because the bronze-rated Olivier Pernot, there is a gap of maybe 2 or 3 tenths a second between those 2 drivers. It's not there to Mathieu Martin, so he'll have to try and spot his opportunity to overtake carefully and delicately here, so as not to force the issue. The one advantage that Biel has is that there are 22 minutes plus a lap on the clock, so can just sit behind Mathieu Martins for a couple of laps and work out where he's likely to have the best opportunity to pull off an overtake. But it's not necessarily in Nathan Biel's nature to do that and be more patient about it. But he could spend the next 5 minutes working out where his car's quicker, and then the remaining 16 minutes plus the lap in trying to fashion that opportunity to be full-blooded about it and where to pounce. Heading through Blanchimont now, there's only a car length between them. Mathieu Martins that leads the class in JS2R for Aarhus Racing from M Racing. They head into the bus stop chicane. Again, great entrance into there with no weaknesses at all from Mathieu Martin, judging this drive perfectly. 21 minutes left on the clock with the podium waiting to their right. They're not going to get distracted by that this early on though in the run. Can't even guarantee that these cars will finish on the podium as things stand. Jacopo Faccioni though, well, a sort of similar situation that we had earlier on when Alessandro Cicognani in the HP Racing car was being caught by Nelson. Is that going to be the same situation in this race? It depends whether Nelson is quicker than Faccioni. It's only 4.5 seconds the gap, because remember the HP Racing by Monza garage duo had to spend more time in pit lane on the minimum reference time than the Nelson car, and that is the real-time gap between 23 and 34. Nelson through Pouhon now, and up ahead of him the all-black 23 HP Racing by Monza garage Jacopo Faccioni driven Ligier JSP4. So HP Racing and Faccioni from La Dussarbe, Nelson and Pierre Fillon, the 2 teammates second and third, with in 4th position Aarhus Racing, Mathieu Martin, just about hanging on to the class lead from Nathan Biel and the M Racing crew. Cedric Ultramare for Cool Racing in third. And the second of the two M Racing cars for Laurent Millara running in fourth position. Remember earlier on, Millara was ahead of Cedric Ultramare. And Ultramare eventually did get by. But Millara is a stout defender, but he's also very rapid on a clear racetrack. He has got 11 and a bit seconds in front of him now to Cedric Ultramare for Cool Racing in the number 4 car. Heading down the hill now towards Campos Corner, and some stones there thrown up from the track surface by Nathan Biel in car 53. Inside the final 20 minutes of Heat 5 for the Ligier European Series here at Spa-Francorchamps. The track's getting more and more littered with debris, a little bit of gravel here and there, and also maybe even some small fragments of Ligier European Series bodywork. Although we've only had one bit of contact reported to us, and that was between the 69 car of Millara and the CTF Performance machine of Fabien Delaplace, resulting in too much damage on the 95 car, more in terms of the car's balance or perhaps direction. If it was a steering arm difficulty, very easy to bend something like a track rod or a steering arm, and that will put the car out of the race. These JS2Rs really do make a great noise, especially as when they're accelerating out of La Source corner and down the hill. Mathieu Martin hanging on to a crucial lead here to stay ahead of Nathan Biel. A reminder that from a points perspective, well, the last time we were scoring points was at Monza 2 months ago. And in the JS2R division, from a driver's perspective, as Nathan Biel moves to the outside now, to the inside of Mathieu Martin, but still can't find a way through. Yeah, from driver's perspective, these are the two leaders in the championship. Martin on the same points as Olivier Pianot, his teammate. They're both on 156 points, as now there's going to be a 1 second stop and go penalty for Nelson in car 34 for not respecting the mandatory pit stop time. So the car second in JSP4 is going to have to come back into the pit lane and serve that 1 second, the time that he was short by. Remember, it is a minute and 45 seconds that you have to spend in the pit lane during the mandatory stop. 1 minute and 45 seconds time from pit in to pit out. But if you're a second too quick, posting a 1 minute and 44, as Nelson has done, that extra second has to be served. Now, has Nathan Biel got the crucial overlap on Mathieu Martin as they head to Fagnes corner? Not quite. I do think briefly the front wheels of the blue and white car, though, were level with the rears of the red and white car. It is still Aarhus Racing that has just about got the measure on M Racing, but there's really nothing in it. And I think were it a clear track in front of Nathan Biel, he would be able to go faster than this and set quicker lap times. So Mathieu Martin is rather getting in his way, but that is perfectly his right, being as the fact that he is leading the class and wants to take at least one more win this year. Mathieu Martin's victorious at Red Bull Ring in race 2 of Heat 2 and in the opening race of Heat 3, which happened at Circuit Paul Ricard, also managing to win a race at Monza, the second of the 2 races in Italy. So can he continue this recent run of form where that car, number 24, has at least taken 1 race win in each heat? They did that at Red Bull Ring, at Le Castellet and at Monza, and haven't yet taken a race win today, because that instead went to Nathan Biel. In and out goes the number 34 car of Nelson, serving that 1 second stop and go penalty. The second isn't particularly costly, but it is the time it takes you to drive down pit lane and get going again the other side of the penalty, and then to head up the hill at walking speed, pretty much, using the pit lane exit rather than the racetrack. So I think the pit lane here is particularly costly when you're comparing it to cars that don't have to stop for a second time. But unfortunately for Nelson, he does, because of an in-race infringement. Mathieu Martin continuing to stick the elbows out and keep behind Nathan Biel. And this is potentially very crucial for the championship. Bearing in mind, so many points were lost to Biel in the earlier encounter. They finished 6th, and it was a definite 6th place, did Mathieu Martin and Olivier Pernot, because remember that car had a puncture and fell off the lead lap as a result. So the points swing when you get for 6th position 8 points. The point swing to the advantage of Nathan Biel was 17 points, which will have given him this extra 17-point lead, and he already had, coming here, a 17-point lead. So effectively doubled to 34, although Mathieu Martin still within sight, bearing in mind there's, well, prior to this result finishing, this race finishing, 75 points still on offer. And the good thing regarding the top two, if they finish in this order, is that it will buy back 7 points to the race leader. So the gap heading to Portimao, and I realise I'm speaking very, very early here, but the gap heading to Portimao would be 27 points, and therefore Nathan Biel would still be catchable by Mathieu Martin and Olivier Pernot, with another 50 on offer in Portugal. As long as Mathieu Martin stays ahead, of course. If it goes the other way, then all of a sudden it becomes a gap of 41 points. Still, again, that's not unsurmountable, but it only gives 9 points of a wiggle room, really, whereas 27 points looks a lot better on paper. 13 minutes still to go for Mathieu Martin and Olivier Pernot's car, but Martin having to soak up all the pressure down the hill and under cloudier skies than earlier today here at Spa-Francorchamps, where it was more or less uninterrupted bright blue sky. The ambient temperature has been very nice indeed, very pleasant in the open sunshine. And there's always been the option for the crowd, for there is a crowd here this weekend, to head to the shelter of the trees if it does get a bit too hot, as Nathan Biel looks to the inside of Mathieu Martin at the end of the Kemmel Straight. He's done that a few times now, but there still isn't the opportunity to get by. But he's just sowing that seed of doubt into the mind of Mathieu Martin. Olivier Pernot, this is probably doing nothing for his nerves on the pit wall. Pernot, I wonder whether he's a type of driver who likes to watch a race that he's no longer part of, or no longer taking active part in, but he was very much part of in the first half an hour, or whether he just prefers to disappear to the race truck in the paddock. And imagine this whole thing's not actually happening. A bit like football managers that can't watch penalties being taken by his or her team. Better really to control your controllables and wait for the race result. Otherwise, I'm sure he's geeing along Mathieu Martin, who's doing splendidly well. Again, using those red door mirrors to the best of his capability. Looking to the inside line. Was Nathan Biel briefly, but now they will head to Le Fagnes corner with the 24 and the 53 cars nose to tail. They have been that way for the last 3 or 4 laps. No way through so far for Nathan Biel, and it's actually bringing towards, or sucking in, you might say, Cédric Ultramare. He's being drawn into this battle, the Spaniard in 3rd position for Cool Racing. So we could very easily have 3 for the lead very, very shortly. Nathan Biel using the wider line into Blanchemont corner. Plenty of grass creep being taken by those right side Michelin tyres, and Cédric Ultramare staying off the line that these 2 cars took, which is the natural racing line into the bus stop chicane. And now all of a sudden Nathan Biel will have to be well aware of the silver and blue car looming large in the mirrors. He has the luxury of being able to attack without needing to defend to this point. Round the outside now, as right in the background Cédric Ultramare fully locks up. Now, has Nathan Biel judged this to perfection? Oh, I thought he was using the outside-inside trick at La Source to deliberately go very, very wide on the run into the hairpin, and that would have enabled him to use the tighter line on the exit. No dip in speed as they head through Eau Rouge corner, and full commitment required as Mathieu Martin, Nathan Biel and Cédric Ultramare almost as one head onto the Kemmel Straight. Mathieu Martin will certainly put his car, the BMA sponsored machine, well over to the right, but is it quite enough? Because Nathan Biel's going to be late on the brakes, but he still can't slither and slide his way up the inside of Mathieu Martin, because Martin is very impressive on the brakes into Le Combe corner. Bruxelles next, tumbling down their hill. Great sight to see the camping vans just up ahead, staying for the weekend. And that's a point as well that we need to echo from the first race, is that this championship is so young, having only started last year, mid-pandemic. This is actually the first event in the Ligier European Series history that has been run in front of a crowd, in front of fans, with this track opened to non-paying fans. It's all free as long as you arrive at the designated gates, using the car parks, which have plenty of space this weekend, and you can just walk in and experience these cars for the first time in the flesh, courtesy of the grandstands around the pit area, around the paddock. And a few brave souls have decided to walk into the Ardennes Forest as well to see these cars part way down the Kemmel Straight, where you get a good view on driver's left, and also the run into the Combe corner as well. Unsurprising to see a decent group of fans flocking towards the run at Raidillon, because you need to see these cars at speed at Eau Rouge and Raidillon, of course. There will also, in the new year, be an opportunity to catch them at certain points down the Mulsanne Straight and into Tête Rouge as well. Indianapolis, Mulsanne corner, Arnage, Porsche curves. These cars will be at Le Mans in 2022. Not during the weekend, not during the Saturday and the Sunday, but certainly during the week itself. And maybe there'll be the space for a race on Saturday morning, either side of the Michelin Le Mans Cup event, which means that Saturday, from a fan's perspective, you are offered so much racing opportunity and value for your ticket price. Because, I mean, I make that at least 3 support races that there will be on the Saturday morning, if indeed Ligier European Series is given a slot as part of the race build-up. And why shouldn't it be? 7.5 minutes to go, and this is like the opening lap all over again between Mathieu Martin, Nathan Biel and Cédric Ultramare, with Laurent Millara wanting really to be involved, but unfortunately for him, he's about 19 seconds away from the leading trio. 2 to the outside, 1 very much in defensive mode is the red and white of Mathieu Martin, and he puts the car right in the middle of the racetrack to prevent Nathan Biel from going underneath or around the high side. Cédric Ultramare doesn't really know what to do next. Does he stay a good distance away, as now the 2 Le Douce Arb cars are going to switch positions? That's Nelson up the inside of Pierre Fillon to take the place again. So Nelson having had to just do a drive-through penalty by the looks of things, and that was Nelson. Was that track limits then, perhaps, or was it the 34 car? No, it was the 34 car having to do the stop-go penalty. That's right. So that wasn't a few moments ago. He will have done that to react to the driving penalty that was issued by race control probably 10 minutes ago, and will have had 3 laps to react to that. So a 29-second pit stop as that car came down pit lane, stopped for 1 second, the time it was short on the minimum reference time, and then rejoined the race. And now Nelson, for the second time in this event, has to work incredibly hard to get ahead of Pierre Fillon. Now the run out of Campos corner is far from ideal for Nathan Biel, who is well and truly on the back foot. High pressure here from Spanish driver Cédric Ultramare, and Nathan Biel, from gunning for the race lead, might almost run out of chances to get second place before the end of this race, because now through Blanchimont corner they will go. 5 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock, with this to be the 21st lap completed. But the gap is there for Cédric Ultramare to slot on the inside in the number 4 car.
Information to the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Information to the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Out of the bus stop chicane they will go once more and across the line, with the BMA backed car leading from Nathan Biel and Cédric Ultramare. And Ultramare taking plenty of curb at La Source. There is a slightly dislodged headlight, it looks like, on Nathan Biel's car, or is that just a trick of the light? It looks like maybe the front left headlight is falling out of its socket. That's possibly because of a bit of curb abuse by Nathan Biel. No, I think it is a trick of the light, just catching it wrongly there as the car's headed out of La Source and down to Eau Rouge. But the closer battle of the two, or indeed of the three, is the fact that Ultramare is looking more likely getting ahead of Nathan Biel than Biel is of taking the race lead within class. La Combe corner, and Nathan Biel still trying to clean the tyres up as much as possible after he dropped at least one Michelin into the gravel trap just before Curve Paul Frere. That delayed him to the end of the rest of through the end of the rest of the lap, and Cedric Ultramare, with a big lockup of the tyres, almost snatched second place away from Nathan Biel. 4 minutes left, and the HP Racing by Monza Garage Jacopo Faccioni driven car, sharing with Alessandro Cicognani once again, set to score well once more. 25 points going the way of Italy and of Monza Garage, crossing the line. And the nearest in the championship when it comes to JSP4s, let's have a look at the teams championship first of all, is the 34 car of Ladouce Arbre. 23 points was the deficit, as this is the final lap now for HP Racing by Monza Garage. So I still don't think the championship is going to be sealed today, purely because Nelson has got himself into second position and is only going to lose a further 7 points to the race leaders. But HP Racing by Monza Garage started their weekend brilliantly and took 2 pole positions. They're on course for a double race win as well, so that will be a maximum points haul of 50 points. There's no extra point for pole position, remember, in the Ligier European Series, and that could well be crucial, heading to the final round and keeping it nice and tight. Through the chicane at the bus stop, 3 cars, nose to tail, Aarhus Racing, M Racing, Cool Racing. It's Mathieu Martin, Nathan Biel, Cedric Ultramare. Biel has tried every trick in the book to get ahead of Mathieu Martin, but still can't make it work. Again, the wide line into La Source will give him a good slingshot this time. It is a drag race down to Eau Rouge, but Mathieu Martin's exit is not too shabby at all, and he has stayed in front of Nathan Biel. Biel, who finished second in last year's championship, behind a driver who has subsequently moved on to pastures new and is not a returnee in 2020, Sebastian Beau. So that has potentially left the door open for Nathan Biel then to take an easy championship victory. Well, he didn't count on Mathieu Martin and Olivier Pernot from standing in his way. And Mathieu Martin now arriving at La Combe corner on the final lap, but remember, we're concentrating on where the overall race leader is as well, because Jacopo Faccioni cannot be too far away. But Mathieu Martin, just 19 years old and only his second season in JS2Rs, first of all with M Racing and then with Aarhus, as for the final time in JSP4, Jacopo Faccioni will make it a perfect weekend for car number 23 for Alessandro Cicognani and Jacopo Faccioni, the 2 Italians in the Italian run car. HB Racing by Monza Garage, they take another victory today to back up their 2 pole positions from yesterday. Second position should go to Nelson, which means it's 7 further points dropped to the Italian squad for the number 34 car, and Pierre Fillon on course for another podium result with his teammate Jacques Nicolet. But is there going to be a change as far as the JS2Rs are concerned? They are close enough for that order to change entirely before they head out of the bus stop chicane in a moment or two's time. They're in the fast section of the circuit right now as over the line will come Nelson to finish second overall in the number 34 Le Dusab car. Third position will be Pierre Fillon. He's a further 10 seconds adrift in the 33 car. There is Pierre now, the president of the Automobile Club de l'Ouest. Nathan Biel, one more bite of the cherry, quite possibly, as long as Mathieu Martin has judged his braking point perfectly. And Cedric Ultramed to the inside, not quite, to back second position. So they will all finish in the same order, but it looked very unlikely as they headed into the bus stop chicane for that final time, because Nathan Biel had a long look up the inside of Mathieu Martin through the first element, and Cedric Ultramer, hoping not to be spotted, I think, looked to the inside of Nathan Biel through the second bit of the chicane, but neither place could be gained or indeed lost, and it will be Mathieu Martin with another victory in car number 24, and he does continue this great record for the last 3 heats of taking a race win at each of them. He didn't manage to do that in Barcelona, but since then, let's just get confirmation of the driver's points. Since then, Mathieu Martins has taken a win at Red Bull Ring as part of the second race. He won the first race at Le Castellet at Circuit Paul Ricard, and he won the second race at Monza. He has just won the second race with teammate Olivier Pernot, of course, just won the second race of Heat 5 here at Spa-Francorchamps. Very entertaining that in both the JSP4s and the JS2Rs, and a recap of the race result after 22 laps. Jacopo Faccioni takes another step towards the title this year with Alessandro Ciccognani and HP Racing by Monza Garage, winning by nearly 40 seconds over Nelson, the first of the Le Dusab teams. And in the JS2R category, congratulations to Mathieu Martin and to Olivier Pernot, who take another victory. That's the 4th of their season, and keep the title fight continuing into Portimao at the end of the year. It's pretty tight as far as the points championship is concerned in both categories, but it will be decided on the coast of the Atlantic in a month's time. We'll see you there. From Johnny Palmer, bye-bye for now.
Et on va demander aux pilotes de nous rejoindre s'il vous plaît pour la remise des prix. Please, the drivers come for the prize giving ceremony. We will have the draw as well for the Michelin tires, of course. Bibendum is there, is ready. And we will need him, of course, for the draw. On va demander à Bibendum de nous aider, mais ce sera après le podium pour le tirage au sort. Est-ce qu'on est prêt? Est-ce qu'on a tous nos pilotes? Non. On va attendre le retour de Mathieu Martin. Olivier Pernaut est bien là, mais Mathieu n'est pas là. Et Mathieu qui a été l'acteur en fin de course d'une fin de course absolument remarquable en résistant à Nathan Biel. Let's start with the podium for the JS2R classification. On va commencer avec le podium de la catégorie JS2R. Non, pardon. Podium JSP4. Pour commencer, on va le faire dans le bon ordre. Ce sera plus facile. C'était aussi d'ailleurs le classement Scratch général. Et on va accueillir sur la troisième marche du podium, comme ça avait été le cas pour la première course, Pierre Fillon et Jacques Nicolet, représentant l'équipe Les Deux Arbres. La numéro 33. Third place for Pierre Fillon and Jacques Nicolet. Second place, representing Les Deux Arbres as well, Nelson, qui va donc terminer en deuxième position. Et ce qui veut dire que la victoire revient une fois encore. So the win once again for the HP Racing by Monza Garage. Jacopo Faccioni et Alessandro Cicognani leading the championship and twice winner here in Spa. And of course we will call a representative as well for the HP Racing by Monza Garage team. And let's listen to the Italian national anthem, please. Voilà, félicitations messieurs, on va pouvoir prendre plutôt les trophées, les bouteilles de champagne, et cette fois, puisqu'il n'y a pas de course après, allez-y, évidemment, so we can go this time for the champagne. We have no race. Zilling, allez, champagne! Voilà, et on va appeler les pilotes de nouveau pour une photo, s'il vous plaît. Ça a été la douche de champagne un peu rapide. Please, all the drivers once again for the picture. On va demander à tous les pilotes de revenir, s'il vous plaît, pour la photo. La photo de cette catégorie JSP4, donc dans cette Ligier Urban Series. Allons-y, tous ensemble pour la photo. Voilà, bravo messieurs, congratulations to all of you. Et très bonne affaire au niveau du championnat pour Jacopo Faccioni et Alessandro Siconiani. Bravo. On passe au podium suivant. The next podium will be the GS2R. Just a few minutes to prepare everything on the podium. And we had such an exciting race in the GS2R classification with the top 3 very tight at the end of the race, and it was really, really exciting. Are we ready? I think so. And for the third place, once again on the podium, representing the Cool Racing Team, Cédric Oltramare. Third. Il termine deuxième, il reste leader du championnat, c'est lui qui aura marqué le plus de points sur ce week-end. Mais quelle bagarre en fin de course, Nathan Biel, finalement deuxième, second place for Nathan Biel. Et on a eu un beau combat effectivement pour la victoire. Et quelle résistance en fin de course, Mathieu Martins avec Olivier Pernaut, ce sont les vainqueurs de la catégorie JS2R. Superbe fin de course. Bravo Mathieu, qui a été mis sous pression pourtant par Nathan Biel et qui a su bien verrouiller. Bravo à vous, messieurs. Et cette fois, c'est donc la Marseillaise que l'on va écouter pour le Team Ores. Voilà, félicitations, congratulations. Bravo à Olivier Pernaut et Mathieu Martins qui se sont bien vengés après les malheurs de la première course. Bravo à Nathan Biel, l'homme qui aura marqué le plus de points sur l'ensemble du week-end. Et puis bravo également à Cédric Oltramare pour son double podium dans la catégorie GS2R. Alors on va maintenant parler des... Alors tout d'abord on va voir le champagne. On a eu la photo, je pense que c'est bon. On va voir le champagne. Champagne, messieurs. Allez, 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 allez. Voilà, et allons-y maintenant pour les pilotes les plus rapides. We will now congratulate the fastest driver and we will offer one set of Michelin tires, of course, for the fastest lap of the weekend in both categories. The fastest lap was during the first qualifying session. Jacopo Faccioni for the class GSP4. GSP4 fastest lap. Congratulations. The Michelin GSP4 Fastest Lap Award. Voilà, bravo. Et puis le chrono le plus rapide, on va le dire en français, puisque c'est Nathan Biel qui a signé le meilleur chrono dans la catégorie JS2R et qui va lui aussi, donc, on va changer le chèque, mais qui va aussi recevoir la dotation Michelin pour le tour le plus rapide de ce week-end dans sa catégorie. Voilà, allons-y pour la photo avec Nathan Biel également. Et puis, tirage au sort, we will have the draw now for the two categories. Second Michelin dotation. Bibendum will be the one taking one number. And we start with the GSP4. Classification, tirage au sort, on va commencer avec le GSP4 et on va se rapprocher un peu pour avoir le numéro de course. Alors c'est bien, on a un bibendum, mais c'est le numéro qui m'intéresse derrière. Et bien c'est le numéro 34, les deux arbres en l'occurrence. Nelson qui va remporter la dotation dans la catégorie. Il est toujours là Nelson? J'espère que oui. Nelson pour les deux arbres. Bon, il va être représenté à défaut d'être là apparemment. Et puis on passera ensuite à la dotation pour la catégorie JS2R. Alors Bibendum, à qui on va demander Bibendum de prendre également un numéro. On y va. Et en l'occurrence, c'est un Bibendum que l'on va choisir également. Dans la catégorie JS2R, la dotation Michelin va donc revenir à la numéro 69, M Racing Laurent Millara. Sur la numéro 69, M Racing, l'équipe dirigée par Yvan Muller. Voilà, merci à tous et puis bonne fin de saison à vous du côté de Portimao. À très bientôt pour de prochaines aventures.